The following segments are pre-recorded and sponsored by Longworth Productions.
Understanding Stroke on Triad Today. Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Longworth. Welcome to another edition of Triad Today, coming to you from the beautiful Senior Botanical Garden in Kernersville. We'll tell you more about the garden later on, and that's when our roundtable shows up, too. And we'll talk about all sorts of controversial topics. Lots of information, great guests in store for you throughout the half hour. Where we want to start, though, is on the serious topic of understanding stroke. And we do that with an expert who comes to us from Northern Regional Hospital. Emily Volk is a nurse. She's a manager of quality management there at Northern Regional. Good to see you.
Thank you.
And you're based out of Mount Airy.
We are. Yep.
Basically, we'll get into some other things first, but basically, what is a stroke?
A stroke is a scenario where the brain is not receiving enough blood flow. And so it's not receiving the oxygen and the nutrients that it needs that's carried to the brain from the blood.
And that can come from any number of things, a clot or anything like that.
Yep.
Now, and we have a really neat sign that we're going to show you bits and pieces of and a slogan. We'll get to that in just a second. What are symptoms and signs of stroke, basically?
So it can range. Generally, the signs and symptoms of stroke are a sudden onset, often one-sided, weakness or numbness on one side of the body, loss of vision on one side of the body. It could be speech-related, balance, those types of things.
And sometimes you may not even know that it's happening, right?
Right. We do have patients who come in and are diagnosed with stroke, and they have very mild symptoms. It could be dizziness, fatigue. So it's not always really cut and dried.
All right, but now let's talk about that. Are there time restrictions for treating stroke if you're pretty sure that's what you or your loved one's going through?
Absolutely. And our advice is to get to an emergency department as quickly as possible. Within the 3.5 to 5 hour time span from when patients were last at their normal state, we're able to evaluate them for medications that could help break up a clot that may be in their brain. People call them clot-busting drugs. So really, the timeliness is very important because every moment we will lose, millions of brain cells when they don't have the blood.
Right. Now, we have a poster graphic that I want to go through because there's an acronym of BEFAST, be fast, and I want to go through each of those very quickly. Let's start with the B. What does B stand for?
B stands for balance. So you find maybe patients are kind of leaning to one side all of a sudden when they're walking, where they're kind of bumping into walls or needing to hold on to furniture. So balance is the first.
Okay, E.
E is eyes. So really means vision changes, generally one-sided. And sometimes they have like a cut in their vision. They won't be able to see it to the periphery, see straight ahead, but they lose that.
The F.
F is for face, and that's the typical one you hear about where half of the face is drooping. Sometimes it's drawing up, but there's a differential between the two sides.
Okay, A.
A is for arm. It really means arm and leg. One side of the body could have weakness or numbness, difficulty using that side.
All right, and then S.
S is for speech, and those are speech changes, slurring of speech, could be just confused speech, using the wrong word, or in some cases, patients are not able to speak at all.
And then in the Be Fast acronym, we come to the letter T.
T, to me, is the most important because it stands for time. And it means get to care as soon as possible, whether that's calling EMS, which is our recommendation,
right,
or getting to your nearest emergency department.
I think Riley Haynes sent me an email one day when we knew you were coming on the show and mentioned something about Northern is certified as an advanced primary stroke center. How important is that?
Very important. What that allows us to do is to surround patients with all the resources that they need for quick diagnosis. If it's a scenario that we will handle there at Northern, we keep them there and get them rapidly to care. If it's something that needs intervention at a higher level of care, then we quickly get patients to a tertiary care center.
All right. Good to know. Now, I want to put up on screen for more information, just general information. You can go to choosenorthern.org. Choosenorthern.org. It has a lot of different portals you can go to find out about different specialties and services and diagnostics and that kind of thing. Very helpful. And I think having the chart, the Be Fast chart, was helpful too. And all the information you gave us, Emily, was so important. And I appreciate what you're doing.
Thank you for having me.
All right. We'll be right back after this.
The world's brightest are Fulbrights, Goldwaters, McNairs, and Spartans. Prestigious doesn't have to be expensive.
And we know you will make a difference wherever you go.
UNCG. Find your way here.
Banking is like going for a swim. You don't need all the complicated stuff, but you don't want to feel exposed either. At Truliant, we give you just what you need, so you can manage your money on the go or stop by a branch whenever you need to. It's all about having options, while also keeping life simple with low rates, free financial advice, and friendly faces. So check out Truliant. We have just what you need.
Back now on Triad Today with my good friend Wendy Poteet. She's president and CEO of Shift Ed, and we are so glad to see you again. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me here.
Our pleasure. Now, remind us once again for people that have just moved in the area or haven't seen you on the show before, what the mission of Shift Ed is. What's the big picture?
Shift Ed is really about boldly accelerating student potential. So we really want to focus on that classroom to career and creating access and exposure for students to be the best that they can be in life.
All right, now in just a second, I'm going to ask you to talk about the big thing, which is scholarships and this kind of thing. But on a day-to-day basis, what kind of ways do you serve kids of all ages with Shift Ed?
So we have about 17 programs that we administer from kindergarten all the way through college.
From kindergarten?
From kindergarten. So we do a pre-K transitions where we help children figure out where they're going to kindergarten. We start fluency tutoring in kindergarten. So kindergarten, kind of up to fifth grade. That academic piece in elementary school is really about third grade reading proficiency. Middle school, we have a mobile innovation lab that you'll see around the community, and we really think about career and technical education and what access and exposure we offer to students.
And that introduces the middle school kids to science and technology and STEM thing, yeah.
Absolutely. And then in high school, it's kind of threefold. We're thinking about exposure to college, the scholarships we'll talk about, but for those kids that want four-year college, do they want a two-year degree from one of our great community colleges? Is it a credential, or do they want to go straight to work, or do they want to go into the military? So we have staff that can help families try to figure out exactly what that match is for students.
All right, now let's talk about scholarships. What kind of scholarships do you offer to high school kids looking at college?
So our scholarship model has been around since the very inception of the organization. Very easy scholarship application. We don't ask for references or recommendation letters. It's about a 15-minute process, and you just have to be a Guilford County School student and meet the qualifications and criteria for that scholarship.
Now, if a child and his parent applied for one of these scholarships, is there anything else they need to do once they go through this quick process you're talking about? Is there any follow-up?
Absolutely. So the application process opens December 1st of a student's senior year. They can start signing up then. The application closes July 1st. So if you haven't signed up yet, there's still time to sign up. One of the most important steps that we find students and parents missing is actually indicating where you're enrolled. So once you get into college, you have to log back in and let us know what school you're at. If you qualify,
right,
we have to know where to send the dollars.
To send the dollars to. Are there limited scholarship dollars? Is there a wait list? How does all this go?
We don't have a wait list right now. There's a few qualifications for the scholarship. So you have to have been in Guilford County Schools since ninth grade continuously. There's an income qualification, of course. And then you have to be able to give us access. So give us the FERPA information at your school, be able to fill out the application, and you have to meet those criteria for the scholarship. So no wait list now, but we do have a $1.5 million budget on an annual basis for scholarships. Not quite at that number yet, but we're working to get there.
And you'll get it. And folks at home, I just want you to know that in addition to being president and CEO of Shift Ed, this lady is a great role model because as a graduate of Guilford College, she was asked to come back recently and do the commencement speech. I guess, so first of all, congratulations on that. That's a pretty big honor.
Thank you.
And they must be proud of you. My university does not claim me. So seriously, what advice did you give to students?
You know, it was a lot. I dealt a lot with my personal story, but really one of the biggest things, and it's kind of a tenet that I live by, one of the big things that I did say to them on Saturday was to really think about integrity in kind of all of your endeavors. I mean, you want to be successful, but your character holds equal weight to the achievements that you have in life. And if you kind of
Absolutely.
live by that, you should be successful.
Isn't that a good thought? That's a good thought. Here's a good thought for you. Look at this website if you would, shifted.org. Shifted.org. That gives you all sorts of information about the programs and services and the scholarships and the applications and all the things you need to know as a parent, as a guardian, as a student, especially a high school student, but programs that are available, as Wendy said, from kindergarten on up. Will you stick around later for the roundtable?
I sure will.
All right. Wendy Poteet. That's it. We'll be right back. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you that Triad Today is now streaming on WFMY Plus, available free on Roku and Amazon Fire TV. Back now on Triad Today, and I want to speak with a very special guest who's a good friend of the show. He's been on many times before. Kevin Baker is Executive Director for Piedmont Triad International Airport. Welcome back, sir.
Hey, Jim.
Let's talk about the economic impact of the airport. First, tell me how many folks roughly that you employ directly in the airport, not around the complex. We'll get to that in a second, just at the airport.
Yeah, so the airport authorities are pretty small. You know, we have about 130 full-time equivalents.
That's a lot, though. Now, for all the tenants and people that in what I call the airport campus or the complex, how many jobs are we talking about?
I'm talking about 8,600 people at the last count that was done. You know, that's at 50 some odd employers around the airport. And of course, some of them are very large. You've got Honda and HAECO that are very large, over 1,000 people. And then others, the airlines, of course, have a lot of people, and, you know, soon to be more too.
We'll hit that 9,000 level pretty soon. I know that we've talked off camera before, you're very proud of the types of jobs and the broad range of employers and customers who have come to settle at PTI. Talk about that.
Yeah, so, you know, our targets have been OEMs, so original equipment manufacturers. So that's Honda, that's the new Boom, et cetera. And then MROs, which is maintenance, repair, and overhaul. So that's like the HAECOs, Cessna, and Marshall Aerospace, which is under construction right now. The beauty of the group of companies that we have is that you've got a broad mix of OEMs and MROs and other suppliers and providers, et cetera, and they have different customers, right? So you've got Honda, who is marketing to the business segment, business jet segment.
Right.
And you've got HAECO, who maintains aircraft for large airlines, you know, the American, United, et cetera.
Okay.
Marshall is also an MRO. They're maintaining airplanes, but only military aircraft and only the C-130. So while they compete for employees, they're not competing against each other for customers. So
right.
You've got this broad range of employers and types of customers that those employers have.
Well, now, you mentioned that, you know, in the total campus, like 8,600 jobs roughly. Do you have any idea of what the average salary is of those folks, as well as the ones that could be announcing anytime?
Yeah, the last study that we conducted has the average salary pushing near $75,000.
Wow.
Which, by the way, you know, the average household income within 35 miles of the airport is about $52,000. So you're talking about a single employee, because average household income sometimes is two earners, don't forget.
Right.
So, you know, you're talking about almost 150% of average household income for a single job. And then some of the new ones are pushing 100,000. Honda is pretty high. I don't know exactly where they are, but I think they might be getting close to 100. Boom will be around the same.
For folks that are sitting here watching this saying, that's great, I'll try flying from PTI, or I like PTI, but they might say, well, all this job stuff and everything, you know, I'm not really concerned about that, but they should be, because talk about the economic impact of all this.
Well, just imagine, for instance, if we didn't have Honda in this community. All of a sudden you lose thousands of people who are earning very high salaries, who are part of this community, part of the fabric of the community, who are out there spending their money, going to restaurants and hotels and you know, buying cars, buying houses, et cetera. If you didn't have that in the community, would wish we did, right? And so the airport is the 5th largest employer in the Piedmont Triad. only after 2 hospitals and 2 school systems. So it's a very important place of employment, and for that reason, I think people should pay attention.
If we were going to do a commercial and I told you you had 10 seconds, what would you say if I said, ask you, why should anybody fly from PTI?
Because it's easy.
That's less than 10 seconds. We had 5 extra seconds. I might have to make up the time now. It is easy. That's right. So am I, but we'll get into that in another segment. Kevin Baker, thank you, sir. Up on screen, flyfrompti.com, flyfrompti.com. Please check that out. Come back and see us, will you?
I will. Thank you.
We'll be right back after this.
North Carolina's economy is growing, bringing new businesses and opportunities. The need for electricity is growing too. At Duke Energy, we're meeting the challenge, providing even more electricity that's cleaner, reliable, and that stays affordable. We're getting out of coal and reinvesting in our communities with a diverse, balanced mix of energy sources and making targeted upgrades to the grid so that North Carolina can thrive in a smarter energy future.
Back now on Triad Today, and language is very important. And we have an expert in language of sorts with us and a first-time visitor to the show. Jody Stanley is International Support and Language Access Coordinator for the City of Greensboro. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
It's a long title. What does that job entail?
So the city created this job. I've been doing the work as International Support Coordinator since 2016 as part of my job, but the city created the full-time position a couple of years ago, really at the tail end of COVID, because we realized that the international community in Greensboro really does need someone who is a point person with the city who can serve as a liaison. So that's what I do. I make sure that the city as a whole, as an organization, is compliant with federal laws regarding language access. But I also serve as a liaison to the international community, to immigrants and refugees. We are a refugee resettlement community. We have been since the 1980s.
That's right.
Since the Montagnard came after the Vietnam War.
Well, now let me see if I understand how this can work. Are you saying that you have a lot of employees that work for the city, and those employees interact with citizens every day to help people in various things?
Right.
Are you saying that you make certain resources available to your staff and employees so they can in turn help people that might need assistance with language? How is this working?
Exactly. So my job essentially is twofold. The first part is internal capacity building, making sure city staff have access to language resources, interpretation and translation, that they understand the difference between those two. They have access to interpreters. They can call somebody on the line and get interpretation over the phone. They know to do it because it's federally mandated, but also they feel comfortable. I think as adults, anytime we encounter something where we feel like we don't know what to do, we feel maybe inadequate, I think we've experienced some anxiety. So my job is to make sure they're proactively equipped with everything they need to be successful once that customer service interaction happens.
And of course, in a capacity where you're dealing with folks from all over the world who have heritage from all over the world, I just want to single in very quickly on the Latino community. Are there any specific issues that you deal with through your office to help the Latinos? Yeah,
so we really do have an expansive approach in the sense that we're offering services to speakers of all languages, but there is one thing that we're doing that's really unique, and I'm really proud of it, and that is offering Spanish classes to our city staff. We recently did a quick community survey of the immigrants and refugees in Greensboro. One of the things that came out was they weren't just concerned about us translating signage. They wanted us to train city staff to better connect with them.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we've been focusing on, is offering a Spanish class for city staff. But we also talk about the U.S. immigration system. We talk about cultural humility and what that means, engaging with other cultures.
And importantly, that it breaks down the barriers quicker. Because you've got those. Very quickly, I want to brag on you about a couple of things. You were appointed as Vice Chair of the North Carolina Governor's Advisory Council on Hispanic and Latino Affairs. What are your responsibilities in that?
Essentially, my job there is to support leadership, our chair, Ricky Hurtado, and our staff liaison, Cristina Españo, at the Office of the Governor. I work with them closely just to make sure the functioning of the entire advisory council is just working well, that things are going along smoothly. really supporting the chair in his efforts. Yeah.
Right, and Carla Banks sent me an email one day also. I want to make sure I read this. U.S. Citizenship Ambassador. You're being the first North Carolinian to be named as that. Congratulations are in order on that, first of all.
Thank you.
How did this come about and why is it significant?
So USCIS developed the Office of Citizenship, Partnership, and Engagement. It's a new thing because many people across the country have green cards. And I was one of those people. I've lived in the United States for 20 years, and I didn't apply for U.S. citizenship till 2 years ago. We have a lot of people living in the country that could apply and naturalize as citizens, and they're not doing so. So this office was created as a sort of a promotional tool, engaging people, letting them know this is an opportunity out there. So my role as one of 11 appointed ambassadors across the country is just to tell my story, to let people know
Where'd you come from?
citizenship is important. So I was born and raised in Bolivia, in South America.
Okay.
And I stayed there till I was 17. So that is really what I call home. So I'm Bolivian by birth, and then my dad is Canadian. So yeah, I didn't have U.S. citizenship until a couple of years ago. So,
All right. Well, we're glad you're a citizen, and I'm glad you're here.
Thank you.
Gosh, you do such a great job. Will you come back sometime?
Absolutely. Happy to come back.
Thanks for everything that you do. Up on screen, visit. You can go to greensboro-nc.gov for general information with the city. Jody Stanley, thanks.
Thank you.
We'll be right back after this. Hi, I'm Jim Longworth, reminding you to catch my column Longworth at Large and Yes Weekly every week. It's available throughout the Triad, or you can go online, yesweekly.com.
Spartans are the teachers, artists, nurses, scientists, and leaders who build our communities.
Back now on Triad Today, just about time for the roundtable, but a quick shout out to the good folks here at Senior Botanical Garden. Come on out to the garden. You can rent the facility. You can look at things. You can have your weddings and receptions, all sorts of things. We can have the roundtable here right now, and what I call in this edition, A Beauty and Three Beasts. On my right, and always political left, Ogie Overman, and our special guest that we've held over from a previous segment, Wendy Poteet, President, CEO of Shift Ed, and Keith Cranberry, founder of Helping Hands Consultants. All right, guys. Last week, 1,500 Georgia State University applicants received acceptance letters for the 24-25 school year. Problem is that soon after that, the university retracted their offers, saying it was a mistake that was made by the admissions office. In a case like this, shouldn't the college honor the acceptance letter, Ogie?
Well, as inexcusable as that is, imagine the confusion that would cause if you let all these people in that weren't really qualified. You're going to have to either start over or go one by one and say, you're in, you're out, you're in.
But Wendy, they might have been, they were qualified, but they just they couldn't take the numbers, I guess. But what do you think the school should do?
Well, it's not a small university. They have about over 50,000 kids at this university. I think the university needs to take accountability, but that's coming from a parent who has a kid in college. They do it every year. Get it right, or
Keith to the college and just said, don't worry about our mistake. Come on.
No, they can't say don't worry about our mistake, because many of these kids are looking at that as the place to go, and they're happy and excited about being there. They're going to have to eat this one and allow these kids to go and make allowances for these children.
All right. The ACLU is suing the Harrison County, Mississippi School District after a male student who identifies as a female was barred from playing in a band concert because he was wearing a dress. This is not the first incident that occurred ever since that school system enacted a biological sex provision to the dress code. Now, here's the question. Doesn't a school have the right to enact its own dress code? And who wins this lawsuit? Ogie.
That's not dress code. That's just pure sexism, racism. But it's going to take a long time. I was thinking about Mississippi will probably be generations hence. But people, they don't understand about transsexualism, it's a tough thing to wrap your head around for people.
Should they be able to enforce a dress code?
It's discrimination. Even to take the gender bias out of it. There's oftentimes been more strict rules for females in dress code than there have been for males. So it's discrimination on every level.
Who wins this case, Key?
Probably the state. I don't think.
So you're saying they can have a dress code?
Yes, they absolutely can have a dress code. Is it right? No, but can they have one? Absolutely.
All right. North Carolina nonprofit group has put up 170 billboards statewide that call for better pay for teachers. The national average for teacher pay is $69,000 a year. The average here in North Carolina is $56,000. Now, no doubt our teachers deserve more money, but my question is this. Are you okay with advertisements that lobby for public employees. Ogie.
Yeah, that's not taxpayer money going into those billboards. It's
No,
a
no,
nonprofit.
it's nonprofit.
So I'm perfectly fine with that.
All right, Wendy.
As a CEO of a nonprofit, absolutely. Anything I think we can do to advocate for teacher pay is what should be done, and you get a nonprofit rate.
All right, Keith.
You absolutely should be advocating for teachers. Should be one of the highest paid professions in this country.
Because, you know, teachers can't just go out and lobby for themselves for more pay. I mean, there's certain restrictions.
And there should be hazardous pay in certain areas.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Now, school districts around the nation are struggling with how to handle artificial intelligence technologies. TJ and I were talking about that. He's back there on camera. We were talking about that before we started. For example, some schools have banned Chat GPT because it allows students to cheat on their essay tests. Others are embracing AI as a learning tool. Should schools ban AI like that or embrace it, Ogie?
It scares me. I don't think we figured it out how to use this to our advantage. I mean, because you're going to cheat. You know, college kids are going to go to that thing, forget about studying, go out drinking all semester, and then get to chat and let them write.
Put it in there. That's the problem.
It's
New York City's banned it. What do you think, Wendy?
You have to input something in the Chat GPT to get something out. So you have to have a little bit of knowledge of what you want to talk about to put it in. I think it's a learning tool, but I think we have to start to think about what are the parameters, because it's not going away.
Keith, ban it or embrace it?
Well, students have been cheating for a long time. They didn't need AI for that. But you're going to have to
Right.
ask Ogie. Hey, but you know, it's you're going to have to embrace it. It's here to stay.
All right. The New Jersey legislature is about to pass a law that will allow government agencies to sue you if you request too many public documents at one time. Good management for taxpayer resources or a violation of our freedom of information? Quickly, Oak.
No, they're trying to keep investigative reporters from getting the information they request. That's all it is.
Wendy.
I mean, it's public information, so you have to do it. I don't see how you not.
Even if you say, I want 1 million copies of this, what do you think?
Why don't they create legislation to help homeless people or help students? Why are we talking about something to keep them in power and keep people from looking under the hood?
I don't know. You might have write them and ask them. Of course, they won't.
Well, you just said
right.
3 beasts.
I know.
It's actually 2 beasts.
That's right. Well, thank you.
And 2 beauties.
Finally, a European clothing company is making high-end denim jeans that come with a stain already on the front that looks like the wearer has wet his pants. The stained jeans sell for $800. Guys and gals, would you buy a pre-stained pair of jeans for $800, Ogie?
Why would anybody do that and then pay $800 to look like you wet your pants?
You wouldn't do it,
That's
would you?
the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Wendy, what do you think?
It was $800 for me. I'm not paying $800 for jeans.
Whether it's got a stain or not.
Stain.
Keith, would you pay $800 for a pre-stained pair of pants?
No, man, that's disgusting. And do I look like I would have any stains on my clothes? Look at me today. Look at me today.
I don't want to go there. I don't want to go there. All right. Well, that's all the time we have. Oh, except for this, breaking the action of the courtroom on Donald Trump's trial the other week. He came out front and was talking, for some reason, about Silence of the Lambs. All he could talk about was Hannibal Lecter, the cannibal. Talk about a gag order. Ooh. All right. For all of us here, we're going to go out and buy some pre-stained jeans. We'll see you next week.